autism. Let the light shine through. Understanding starts with seeing something new. Every voice a melody, every story true. Windows into autism, bringing us closer to you, y'all.
Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Windows Into Autism. Thank you for joining us again. I am one of your hosts, Trent Mendez Covington.
And I am Trent Mendez, also known as Mama Mendez, your second host.
Yes, and we are here to talk all things autism. Nothing is off topic, nothing is embarrassing, and there are no silly questions here. So, Mom, you had the idea for this next episode.
Yes.
So why don't you start us off?
Okay. As I said in the first episode, Crystal's brother, Jason, was born in 1977. It took 8 years for him to be diagnosed as autistic. And at that point, there still wasn't a lot of information out there for parents. So having it taken like 8 years to find out what was wrong, what was going on with my son, my focus was, what can I do to get him ready for life without me and give him the best life possible? And I think I'm hoping it's changing now, because I'm seeing, our children, how they're advancing in the world. But I found out there are still some parents who are under the impression that they're going to live forever. That's all I can say. And they're not taking any steps to prepare their children and to prepare themselves for when they're no longer here. And I think that's really important to talk about. You have those who have no other family members. You have to think about what's going to happen to my child when I'm gone. You also have those who do have other family members, who are under the impression, oh, when something happens to me, my family will take care of my child, or sometimes children. And that is not always the case. Or even they'll say, if the child with special needs has a sibling, the sibling will take care of them when I'm gone. No, it doesn't always work that way. So I really think it's important to take steps. And it doesn't mean I'm going to die tomorrow, because I'm still here, evidently. But I think it's very important for us to be realistic and to start early deciding what the future of our children is going to be.
Well, based on what you wanted to talk about, so we're talking about getting your affairs in order. That's what we're talking about today. That's the topic. So me being an occupational therapist, I love to learn and see what's happening. So I did a little research, again, not a deep dive. I didn't do a deep dive, but I wanted to get some information on statistics or financial information, things like that. So I was able to get, and I'm going to put everything on the website for our podcast. I'm going to list the articles that I did find. But according to Northwestern Mutual, it cost about $320,000 from birth to 18 to raise a child. And we're talking about the United States. We specifically are in New York State, so I can only imagine how much it would cost here. And this was adjusted for inflation based on the data from U.S. Department of Agriculture in 2015. So they took that data from 2015 and adjusted it for inflation, and then that's how they came up to this number. And that's for just one child from birth to 18, right? Now, this next statistic came from Autism Speaks. However, when I went to the site, it didn't say where they got the statistic from or what year or anything like that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
But they said lifetime cost for a person with autism ranges between 1.4 million to 2.4 million. And this also depends if the person has an intellectual disability. So I just thought that that was a very astronomical number that I wanted to put out to the families. But again, I don't have any source as to what year that was published or anything like that. I did have trouble finding statistics to see how many families are prepared for the future. I couldn't find any information on that. So if there's any studies on that, I'd love to, review and look at that.
Or maybe no one has ever asked the question.
Or maybe no one has ever asked a question. That is a very valid point. So that was hard to find because I wanted to get an idea of how many families, took preparation and started doing that. I can tell you personally, my daughter is 7 going on 8. She'll be 8 in December. And the boy...
She's not 80?
She's not 80. So the boy is 9. He'll be 10 next year. I have not made any preparation, but I want to. I definitely want to get things in order, but I have not made any preparation. So I need to take my own advice from this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 1.4 to 2.4 million lifetime to raise an autistic person. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So one thing that we wanted to talk about when preparing for the future is guardianship. So, Mom, do you want to talk about your journey with guardianship?
Yeah, sure. Well, that was, I had the realization that Crystal, even though she's the younger one, that she was going to have a life of her own. She was probably going to meet someone, probably settle down, probably have her own family. To add to having to take care of her brother, I felt was unfair and wasn't an option. My daughter, self-righteous as she is,
You gotta say
said, yes, I do, said, well, my brother's going to live with me.
Goodness.
Yeah, okay. You say that, but the person, and I will give Crystal this much, I will give her all the credit in the world for this. Her attitude was always, if you cannot accept my brother, you cannot accept me.
Facts.
So I wasn't worried about her meeting someone who wasn't willing to deal with her brother and didn't want her brother in their lives. That wasn't the problem.
Right.
The problem was I knew she was going to have a life of her own. I knew growing up there are things she wanted to do on her own, and that I had to take steps now for what would happen in the future. So when it came to guardianship, my husband and I, we went to the courts. We filed the application. We had decided one of my nieces at the time would be the guardian if something happened to us, because Crystal was underage. You were, 8 when we filed for Jason's guardianship?
I was young.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't even remember.
So with the stipulation that when she became of age, then we would switch the secondary guardian, which is what, and we went to court. The court clerks were very helpful. I don't know if it's the same now because, like I said, this was done, I know when it was done. This was done just before Jason turned 18, because even with his disability, he would still be considered an adult. So the clerks were very helpful. They told us the process, what we had to fill out, what we had to do, how long the process would take. And we got the papers, and everything was copacetic. Everything was taken care of. Then once Crystal reached the age of 21, we went back to court, and we removed my niece as secondary guardian and replaced it with Crystal. Replaced it with,
Yeah,
Crystal.
I harped on you. I remember harping on you about that. I was like, we need to change this now.
Yeah.
I want it changed now.
Yeah. But it, like I said, it wasn't. I don't know what the situation is now, because remember, Jason is 48, and we did this when he was 17. So I don't know if there have been changes, if there are more fees, if I would first go and get information. If your child is 9, 10, however old your child is, get the information now. So when the time comes, you will be prepared and be ready for going through the necessary paperwork.
And also, we have to state it's different for every state.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So again, we're in New York State, so things are different than like if you're in Wyoming or something like that.
And also, I should add, we went to surrogate court. So it's not criminal court, people. Don't go to criminal. Surrogate court. We went to surrogate court to do file the papers.
Yes, I did do research on guardianship in New York. It's Article 17A that they usually file. Mm-hmm. But what I did learn is that there's different types of guardianship. So you have guardianship of the person, mm-hmm. where you are guardianship over, personal care, medical treatment, mm-hmm. living arrangements, daily activities, mm-hmm. things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And then you have guardianship of property, where you control the financial affairs, the mm-hmm. assets, paying bills, making investments, things mm-hmm. like that. Mm-hmm. But we have guardianship of person.
Now, something I did learn recently, which also needed, which I have to go through the process of doing, is I just got a brain fart. Go on. I just got
not conservatorship or anything.
Not conservatorship, but
I forget the term too. We'll
come back to it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
She'll remember later. Don't worry, y'all.
Yeah.
She'll remember
after
later.
the show, I'll remember.
And then we'll put it in the end.
But there's also something else you have to file to be in control of their finances. And I learned this when Jason had his identity stolen and somebody had filed a fraudulent tax return. And so they gave me a PIN number that I had to use every year to file electronically. What happened is one year I filed electronically and it didn't go through, and that's because technically, even though Jason was still a dependent of mine, he was, by the federal government, considered an adult. And so I had to file, I have to file in order to get not control of his finances, but in order for me to file electronically, I can't think of the form right now, but I have to, there's something else I have to file. Yeah.
And if not, we'll put it on the
thank you,
website, what they need. So we talked about a little bit about guardianship. So mm-hmm. again, you want to look at your state because guardianship means different things in different states. And then you want to think about who would you want as guardian. And that goes back to, mm-hmm. When we talked about in the first season where we talked about siblings, right? Not assuming that a sibling would take over, mm-hmm. right? The sibling may not want to do that for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I wanted to. I vote. That was never a problem. But I respect that siblings that don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So you can't assume that once the parents pass away that the sibling will automatically take over. And you want to make sure that you have your court documents in order so that when that untimely, I don't want to say untimely, but that unfortunate mm-hmm. event happens, that everything is already set, and then everything could, the transition could be much smoother
yeah.
than if nothing is in place. So other things that you may want to think about when you're planning for the future is a special needs trust. Now you have that.
Yes, I
for
have
Jason.
that set
You
up.
want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh,
more?
yeah. Because there are different types of trust. And the trust we have set up for Jason, it's not taxable, or it won't affect any of the benefits he is now receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, my life insurance policy, half will be going to Crystal, half will be going to Jason's trust. This won't affect his Medicare. This won't affect his Social Security. But there's a different type of trust where it is taxable. And I don't know what the
Terminology.
no, I don't know the number because, you have different legal codes for everything. I don't know. But so it's important that when you do file for your child, you file. And it's also important to go to an attorney who maybe specializes
Yes.
in filing legal papers for families with special need children, because every attorney, don't go to a criminal lawyer, because I've had people, they just go to any attorney. And no, you can't, law is like medical practice now. You have people who specialize in certain fields. Mm-hmm. So I would also just suggest go to an attorney who has some experience in dealing with parents of special need children, and they will know the correct trust to file for that child. Mm-hmm. Because you want to protect anything that your child is getting now. You want to protect that so they will continue to receive it after you're gone. Because I've had, I've heard horror stories of the wrong trust was set up, and all of a sudden the government is coming in and they're saying, oh, well, we're going to cut his Social Security benefits. Oh, he's no longer acceptable for Medicaid. You don't want that to happen.
For sure. And also, you want to think about the family as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. So we have things in place if my mom passes away. We have things in place if my dad passes away. We have things in place if both my parents pass away. Like let's say they were traveling and something happened, heaven forbid, right? But we have something in place if my parents and myself pass away. Mm-hmm. What happens if all four of us pass away, right? So I think that's an important point, too, because we don't even think about that. Mm-hmm. And I surely didn't think about that when we started talking about this years ago. Mm-hmm. Like, we think about my brother, but I didn't think, like, what happens if 1, 2, 3 of us and my brother's the only one left? I never even thought of that circumstance. So it's really important to think about that, and that's why it's really great to go to a lawyer who specializes in this area, because they can help you navigate and think about scenarios that, you as I don't want to say regular person, but a regular person.
Well, as a parent.
Would not think about.
Yeah.
So, and also the other thing that we have listed here is a trustee. So I have guardianship over Jason if anything happens to you guys. But my best friend Jeannie is the trustee. Can you talk a little bit about that, Mom?
Yeah, because
I love you, Jeannie.
Jeannie is like my unofficially adopted daughter. And she was kind of upset when I didn't include her on the guardianship. And so I said, well, what I'll do this, Crystal will be the guardian, but you will be the trustee. So, and really that's the reason why I did that. But it's the point of, there are things Jason's going to need that the government isn't going to pay for. Or, things, if we want to take Jason on a trip or something, whatever they want to do. But this will ensure setting up a trust fund for him and setting a trustee for him means those things that the government will not cover, the trust will. And that's why I said it's important to get the specific trust, because now the government can't touch this. So if they want to, although Jason will never go on a cruise again, because he recently went on a cruise and he said no boat.
He was like, that's it, one and
But
done.
say if they want to do a family train trip, that trust fund will pay for his ability to go. So, that's why I made Jeannie, because she was so upset with me.
Now, do you still pay into the trust fund? How does that work?
Whenever, if I have any extra, well, first of all, like I said, the life insurance goes automatically into the trust fund.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. But if I have any extra, cash here or there, which, no offense, these days,
I was about to say nowadays. These
days don't have the little extra, little coins in the jar. No,
right.
The coins have been spent.
Right.
So, but when I had any extra money, or when Jason was still living with me, and I could take some of what he was receiving from Social Security and could put it into the trust fund.
Okay.
So that's how. But and it's not like you have to do it every month or every week, or when you have it, you put it into that fund and it's there. It stays there.
Okay.
Until it's
do you know
here.
Do you know if it accrues interest or anything like that, or is it just like the money just sits there?
I have to check because interest rates have. So I'm not sure how much it would be receiving now. So I will say that I have to check. But
and do you, like you said, so the trust, the special needs trust, is used to pay for things that maybe the government does not.
Won't.
Right. So does that mean that Jason has access to that money at any time, or is it
the trustee, who's ever the trustee of the trust fund, decides
when Jason could? So in this case,
he doesn't handle it. Yeah.
Right. Jeannie would decide, like, okay, because my brother lives in a residence, so if they needed something extra, Jeannie could go take the money, and then
if she wanted to throw him. We did a celebration a couple of years ago for it was Jason's birthday. It was a combination of Jason's birthday, and it was supposed to be 10 years he had been within this residence. Because of COVID, we had to push it back to 11 years. But if, say, you wanted to do something like that, something special, if you wanted to rent a hall, or as the trustee, she could then take that money and say, let's rent a hall, let's have a big party,
Got it. Okay.
So,
Okay. So this is all stuff that I have to prepare for.
It doesn't have to be for a specific, like, for instance, it can be used if you don't like the dentist that the resident is taking him to. You have the extra money to take him to a dentist you feel comfortable with.
Right. Now, I know Jeannie's a trustee over that. Do you have access to? Or is it like...
Oh, yeah. Well...
Like, it's like when you pass away, then
when I pass exactly. When I pass away,
Okay.
Just like when both me and your father, we both pass away, you automatically become his guardian. You have the guardianship papers. Same thing with the trust. If something happens to both of us, then Jeannie takes over. Yeah.
And speaking of that, guardianship, I have to think about it. I have, honestly, with everything going on, I haven't, but I do have to think about it because Charles has said that if anything happens, he wants to take over for Jason. And Charles is my husband, and I'm like, you're going to have your hands full with these kids and everything. So I don't know. Like, I feel like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like it's a burden. I don't want to burden him.
You can also, and this is something you can have co-guardians.
Well, there you go.
Because, like I said, I'm a guardian, and so is your dad. I could have just put it in my name, just say, I want to be. So you can have co-guardianship.
All right, maybe.
You can do that.
Maybe Charles and Jeannie.
And then, because what you can do if something does happen to me, if you wanted to, you can then say, well, I want to pass my guardianship on to Genie. You could file
Right.
papers that I want to establish my husband as a guardian and my unofficially adopted sister as the co-guardian.
Right,
so
right.
you could do that yourself.
That is true. So see, this is why it's important to have this conversation. We don't want to be morbid or anything like that, but you have to think about these things and you want to prepare because you don't want something to happen and now this is an extra thing that you have to scramble for.
Because, as I said, I've seen the horror stories where you have parents who are elderly and they pass away. Some of them have no other family. If there is family doesn't want to be bothered.
Right.
And so whatever state you're in, the state will put that person wherever there's an opening.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a home for senior citizens, they'll put them there. If it's a mental institution, they'll put them there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a hospital, they'll put them there.
Right.
Any place there is an opening, they will put that person in, and many times it's not adequate. It's not beneficial.
It's not suitable for that.
It's not suitable
for that individual.
Correct. Then I've heard parents say, and I've heard them say this, "Oh, well, my sister will take care of him."
Right.
Oh, I don't have to. No, I don't have to do that. My son, his brother will take care of him. His brother will take him in.
Yeah. And you can't assume that. And again, that goes back to the conversation we had in the first season about siblings, like having that honest conversation and having discussions and saying like, hey, this is what our wish is. Would you be able to do that? Would you want to even do that? Mm-hmm. Right? You can't make that assumption.
You can't. Now,
can't.
And you have siblings who are totally willing, invested in the life of their special sibling.
Right.
They are there come hell or high water.
You got that right.
But I wanted to give Crystal the option. And
she already knew the answer.
It's not only give her the option, but also, and I could be wrong, from the few siblings I have seen who take care of their brethren, I can't say all, but a few are single. They don't have a second person in their life. In other words, a significant other isn't there. Because you also have to look at that. You have to say, and that's why with Crystal it was accept my brother or there's nothing going on.
Yeah, we were a package deal. That was it. We were a package deal. Like, take it or leave it. It's fine.
So you have to also be sure, as a sibling, your parents are well, healthy, your sibling is okay, doing fine. Something traumatic happened. You're now left to be the caregiver.
Right.
How is your spouse going to feel?
Yeah.
How is your significant other going to feel? Are they willing to do the job?
Yeah.
And you have those who are gung-ho, just like you are, but you have the others who say, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why it's important to really talk to that other child, whether they be older or younger. If they're like Crystal, where Jason would go on dates with her.
Another episode.
But she would take, but this is to see, are you capable of handling my brother? Do you feel comfortable handling my brother? And are you okay with handling my brother?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there's a lot of discussion. It's a lot of things to think about. So we just want to give some key points, review those again.
And I will try to remember what that form is.
Well, if not, we'll put it on the we'll put it in the resource section. Do. But thinking about guardianship, what that looks like, what type of guardianship, thinking about B, a special needs trust, C, thinking about a trustee, right? And also D, you want to add, Mom?
Yeah, I wanted to add one. I completely forgot. This comes with the guardianship. And and this is also be part of another episode we're going to do about getting information.
Oh, okay, sure.
But you have to do this when your child turns 18. Hopefully, they're eligible for Social Security. When that check comes in or that check is deposited, it's going to come in their name. So this is why it's also important for you to start the guardianship procedure when they're in 17. When they're 17, have it set up. So when he is eligible for Social Security, that check will come it will be deposited in a joint account, and it'll say Jason Mendez in care of Trent Mendez. You have to do that because the first check they receive, if you don't have guardianship, it's going to come in his name, and banks will make it very difficult for you to cash it or handle it. So that's what I wanted to add.
Okay, so thinking about bank accounts, again, guardianship, special needs trusts, trustee. Also, too, that we didn't talk about, but we could probably do that in another episode, living arrangements. Where will the person live? Are they going to live with the sibling, a family member?
Be part of receiving information.
Right, that could be the information episode. Also, you want to think about medical arrangements. If that person has any medical issues, how you're going to handle that. Also, you want to think about education, employment down the line. I mean, we're still kind of fighting over the whole employment thing, but I'm always going to fight for that because my brother volunteers. He doesn't get paid. And I'm like, he should have gainful employment. There's no way he shouldn't have that. But that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, these are episodes that you're already giving them a list of episodes.
Already giving you a list of episodes. But we'd be happy to hear your opinion as well.
Yes, and please let us know if there's something you want us to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
That we haven't covered.
For sure. So those are the things that we want you to think about in order to get your affairs in order. As I said, I'm speaking to myself as well because we have to do this for our son and we have it. So I will be definitely having this conversation. And also too, lawyers are expensive and everybody's just trying to eat and pay a mortgage. So, this is kind of like the last thing that we're thinking about when you're trying to make sure your mortgage is paid every month. But, I do have to bring it to the forefront. So I am speaking to myself as well, not just you guys. So please know I will be working on this as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you go to circuit court and find out if they still help you with the process.
Right.
Because then it won't cost you basically just the filing fees and stuff like that.
Okay, that's a good point, too.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's information that I have to look at and investigate for myself. And I hope that you do the same. And that is the end of our show.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us again. We look forward to seeing you in another episode. I have no idea what it is. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
But thank you for your support. And thanks for watching and listening.
And until next time, many blessings.